How? Okay. We are live this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So it's 8:30, 8:33. And I just want to say good morning. Good morning to everyone who's up and got the kids out the door. Um, got your coffee. But we are at Project Life. Well, we turn theory into practice. Okay? Theory into practice. Today is Wednesday, and if you haven't noticed, if you're following me, then you notice that I have these themes that were given to me for for each day. So today, if you're following the content, good morning, good morning, cousin, good morning, Miss Brittany, good morning, Pep. If you notice, we have I have these themes. And today is Wednesday, and I want to remember what my Wednesday theme was, um, because I think it's important. The whole idea around just this 8:30 daily intention bite-sized recipe is to truly just get you ready for the day. I got some feedback yesterday, and just sometimes we're just waking up with so much of our yesterdays, so much of what we got to go through today. And this is just a moment where we can stop, we can breathe, right? We can really just set the intention. And I say, why 8:30? Because listen, the first part of your day is for you. Waking up, getting prepared. This is our time for community to join together with an intention to set the tone for our day, and then we move on in our day. Okay. Um, so today we're talking about obstacles, and if you guys haven't watched Monday and Tuesday, this week is about lack because this month is based on lemons, the lemons condition. I just became a doctor, and my dissertation is from lemons to lemonade. And so I really want to introduce this lemon state, right? Which lemons is an acronym. It stands for we lack, that's the E, the energy, the motivation, the organizational skills, necessary supports, and sometimes the skill sets, that's the lemons, to really have these productive lives, right? And so this week is lack. And on Monday, we talked about the stories of lack. Like, where did our story of lack come from? And what story of lack really looks like is like, I don't have the time. I don't feel like I'm enough. I just don't have the emotions to give, right? It's just really like we are communicating um, from this place of not having enough, right? I'm not having enough money, not having enough time, not having enough love to give, not having enough forgiveness, and really, where did that come from? And I share that that typically comes from, right? I heard that the first sin was a sin of lack, right? And that sin was Eve, um, when Satan got Eve to focus on the tree, right? The one thing she couldn't have, right? When she was given everything, in the garden. That's how the story goes, right? So from all the trees she could have ate from, and in some way he tempted her to focus on the one that she couldn't, right? And that trend has continued to gain momentum because how many of us are abundant in a lot of our lives, right? We may have the friends, we may have the resources, but we're focusing on the thing we don't have. All right. And so this week we want to stop that. So we talked about the stories, we talked about what triggered lack. And I do want to say Monday's verse was As a man thinketh, so is he, right? And so we want to change the way we think about our environments, because guess what? It's a balance, right? Um, there is the negative and positive. There is the left and the right, the up and down, right? These are universal laws. So like, it's not that we can't have everything. It's just that in life we have to accept a lot of times that balance comes over time, right? And so in this moment, I have everything I need. Now, I may desire more, and that desire may be accomplished in a future moment, right? But in this moment right now, if you really thought about it, you breathing, um, you're healthy, you're able to communicate, whatever it is that your abilities are, they're here to serve this moment. And what we get caught up in is really thinking about like this future place. My hair is sticking out. Is this future place, right? Where this future place where we get stuck about what's going to happen on Friday, or what's going to happen next month, or even next year, right? Instead of really just sitting in the present moment. So that's what I want to do. I want us to, good morning, Dale. I want us to, and Miss Wallace, I want us to just take a moment and just take a deep breath. Just breathe in, and let's just sit in this moment with the knowing and the acceptance that right now I have everything I need. Now you may get a whisper up in your spirit that says, that ain't true. And that's just the old story trying to take precedence. But remember, we are changing theory into practice. And so to change theory into practice is kind of like changing from an automatic to a stick shift in our car, right? So the automatic is automatically gonna shift. You know, your speedometer is automatically gonna go. But in the stick shift, we get to say when we're gonna move up to that next 20 to 30 miles or 30 to 40 miles, right? So we're going to become the driver. So we take a deep breath again, just, I already have everything I need. And let that feeling of doubt, whatever that is, let that come up, right? Because that's a part of, what came up in our spirit is like you passing gas, right? That's just that having to be expressed, but we don't have to do nothing with it. And I think that what we would try to do is wonder, why is that gas trying to pass through me? Or what did I eat to make it smell like that? Or whatever, all of that. And we don't have to even be curious about that. We just have to know that that comes with changing our life, right? And changing theory into practice. Okay. Yesterday we talked about triggers. Why does why does lack feel so real? Right. And the Bible verse for yesterday was like, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. And I use that scripture because I really do think that sometimes when we are in lack, we kind of feel separated. And when, in this case, the Lord, from people, from our desires, right? From the things we want. And at those times, you still are connected. You still are connected, but you can choose to not, right? You can choose to disconnect. And in our exercise yesterday was just to see abundance. So did anybody, good morning, Mama Sharon, did anybody do the activity where you thought about abundance? Like, what did you see when you really focused yesterday on your abundance? Okay. Put it in the chat for me. All right. And so today is obstacles, right? How does focusing on lack keep us stuck? All right. But before we go into that conversation, and I just gave my spiel, hey, I just want you to drop something in the chat for me. Just describe how you're feeling right now today. How are you feeling? My word would be um, fulfilled, right? Like, I set out to start Project Life and really these bite-sized recipes every day, because what I understand is that first we build our habits and then our habits make us. And so looking forward to this conversation to connect with you guys is definitely um, a fulfilling feeling that comes up for me because it challenges me, it charges me, it makes me think. And so all of that is fulfilling. So drop it in the chat. Okay, confident. All right. All right, Pep, I see you. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. When we focus on lack, right? Um, we tend to create these stories. And in the stop and now framework, our third step is obstacle. And what is an obstacle? Just something that gets in the way, right? So when we believe we don't have enough, we actually create the mental roadblocks that stop us from really moving forward. So today is really about shifting our mindset, right? Just shifting our mindset. And what is a mindset? I always say your mindset is like your thermostat, right? So no matter right now, my thermostat is on 73. Okay. Like, so no matter how many doors open in my house, the cold come in, the furnace is going to kick on to make sure that my house stays regulated at 73. So it may get cold, but as soon as those doors close again, guess what will happen? Like, it's going to warm back up the space. This is the power of setting a mindset and not just like changing, but really transforming our mindsets on the inside. Because when we set our mindset set at abundance, right? Then we may experience lack, but when that's over, when that lack season is over, or when that disappointment is over, or when that contraction or negative thing is over, guess what happens? I go back to my abundant state. I experience that. It kind of can feel uncomfortable, but it's like an anchor. I'm gonna go right back to abundance. Thank you for that experience. Something I learned from that experience. And so I really want us to change our mindsets as a part of this process. All right. So the trap of focusing in lack. Today's Bible verse, and again, why am I using Bible verses? Not because I'm trying to make you a Christian or anything like that. I just feel like as a researcher, I go out and I read journals and I'm reading research, and it's like this supporting data. And to me, the Bible is like the oldest book alive, right? Like it's so many resources and sources that can support the context, and it's like the longest book alive. So for me, when I go back to a scripture in my mind, I can stand on that, right? And so in Philippians 4:19, it says, and my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches and glory, right? So what does that mean? All right. Let me tell you this. Lack isn't just about a thought. It's really like this energy we carry with us, right? And the more we focus on what we don't have, the more we reinforce that in our reality. Okay. But the moment we start to shift our focus to what we really have, everything starts to change. And so the question here is, what do I really have? And so we insert the Bible verse right there because and God, if God's going to supply my every need, right, according to his riches and his glory, and he like he created creation, right? Which is, the animals. He created he created creation, which is like the ground and the trees and the things that bear fruit and all of that. The moon and the stars. He created the creatures, right? The animals, the dogs, the cats, the cows, things like that. And he created creators, right? Which is us. Okay. So if he created creation, creatures, and creators, right, which is us, then I know that he has the power to fulfill all my needs. So when I start to focus on what I don't have, right, or what's not going, then I know, then okay, you're focused on the result, and you need to focus back to the cause, right? Who is the source that is your supply? Right? Yeah, right. Who is the source? And go to the source with that and then believe that in your heart. Okay. So tell me this. What is one thing you already have that you've prayed for, that you've meditated for, that you wanted to manifest, right? Drop it in the chat. Tell me, what is one thing you already have that you once prayed for? Right? Drop it in the chat for me. While I sip on my coffee. Thank you. Because here's the thing. Desire and want is like an appetite. You know, I prayed for a car, I prayed for that job, and now I got it. I'm done with that. I'm not even thinking about how life met me in that prayer. So Miss May said, my new job. Yeah, so we'll get the job, we'll get the blessing, but then how soon we forget, right? Because now I'm before another place of lack, and I'm entering that with the intention, right, with this doubt. And let me say this, faith and doubt, they are still both faith, right? Just faith is believing in the thing that I desire, and doubt is the belief in the thing I don't desire. But both of them is still a belief. Both of them is still me believing, right? So if I'm sorry, the thing about belief. So belief is I'm believing, if I'm believing in faith, I'm having faith that the thing I want in the future will come to pass in due time, right? Because there's something called a gestational period or a time in which that thing has to be birthed. But doubt is the same thing. It's just me saying, I have faith that that thing is not going to happen in my future. And when we have doubt, we tend to have anxiety. We tend to have a lot of anxious thoughts. We tend to have uncertainty and things like that. But in this word for today, and my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in his glory. So when we start to come up and I don't have the language to tell myself, I would just say, hey, go to Philippians 4:19, right? And just know that God will supply your needs. All right. And then do the work, right? Change the theory into practice. Now, who do I need to be? And sometimes I just need to be patient. Maybe I want that, but maybe it's not time for that. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm on somebody looking at somebody else's life and thinking, well, they have it. You know, I feel like I'm better than them, or I didn't pray to you, God, for that. And if you want it, it will happen, but you can opt out of it. And how do you opt out? By training your mind to see the thing, that by training your mind to not see it come to pass, right? And so the blessing that you're looking for could be right before you, but you've trained your mind to not see it because you told yourself what it should look like, what it should feel like, how it's supposed to come. And as it's coming, you don't even see it because you're full of doubt. And that's okay. We just want to be aware of that so we can change that. Right. How soon we forget. So Mama Sharon said one of the things she prayed for was to pay off her car, but still want more. Why is that? So Miss Sharon, because it's an appetite, right? That's the thing. We have to give ourselves permission. One, we have been shamed so much. Like, why do you want so much? You think you're too good. Like, it's an appetite. Listen, and you will hear me say this over and over and over again. Yesterday I ate dinner. Okay. That don't mean that my stomach is not going to crave to eat today. Yesterday I drunk, I don't know, 54 ounces, close to 60 ounces of water. That doesn't mean today I'm not going to be thirsty. We digest things, right? It goes in and it comes out, right? And so even a part of this daily conversation is like, okay, today what I want to experience, not based on my yesterdays and not based on my tomorrows, but today, what is that need that I want to fulfill? Is it connection? Is it actually moving some energy, getting something cleaned in my house, right? And giving myself permission to have these wants, needs, and desires, and separating the guilt that comes with it, because those are my true needs, right? That is my appetite. And God has given each one of us an appetite, but we do have to have the space to be grateful. Yes, Mama Sharon, like we do have to still be grateful for all the days that brought us, all the moments that brought us to this moment, right? And then also grateful for all the moments that will come after it. But for us to desire and want more, that's just That's just us doing what the body do, right? That is a part of us being human, and somewhere in life we've been separated from that. All right, all right. Dale said, "How soon we forget?" Yes, how soon we forget. Okay, so so this Bible verse that God will supply all our needs, really around trapping this trap in focusing on lack, we really do have to kind of step away and break down in God. So if you don't believe in God, that's fine. But there is a creator, like I said, that created the creation, the creatures, and the creators, right? And if those needs are supplied for and we are supreme beings, then you got to know ours will be supplied for. Okay. And then to say, we'll supply every need of yours, right? Now, every need is not the same as all your needs. And what came up in my spirit when I read that, um, earlier, I was thinking all my needs, because sometimes my needs is like, I need to maybe cuss this person out so they don't mess with me. And that opportunity probably doesn't come. So all our needs probably are not being met, right? But for the ultimate desire, I can guarantee you that one, everything is always working for your good and that all your needs are being supplied for. Okay. And then it says, according to his riches and glory. So remember this, God is, according to his riches. So God is like a limitless God, right? So there's abundance, there's grace, there's mercy, and there's power, right? In this creator. All right. That is in us too. Okay. So if God say, let us create man in our image, then he also created us with what? Abundance. We have the grace to give, right? We have the mercy to give to one another, and we have the power, right, to really change and shift our minds so that we can, have the life that we desire and ultimately deserve. All right. So the themes that I want you to take away is that God's provision is complete, right? So God is our ultimate source, and really He has everything we need. It's kind of like to me when I think about this, because I do think that when we think about the Creator, God, and we try to infuse that into our walk, one, it makes us think of our worthiness, right? Like I'm a sinner. I lie. I cheat. I steal. I did this thing wrong. Am I sufficient enough? So because I don't feel sufficient enough, then I need to make this happen on my own. Okay. And once I prove myself to be this worthy individual, then I will have God's grace. And that's just not true, right? I know that there is some biblical principles that, I mean, some religious doctrine that follows that, but that's just not true. Like you actually are living in God's grace all the time, right? And if we were challenged to forgive 7 times, 77 times a day, then we got to know that the source that created us is forgiving us. So what does that mean? That means the work is on me now. I need to look at myself, all of those mistakes I made, all of those errors, all of those discretions that went against what I valued. And then I need to let it go. And how do I do that? That's why we say, hey, go to therapy, get a coach, like get an objective person in your life that's not attached to the situation, circumstances, so that they can bump you out that, help to bump you out that situation and see it differently. One of the analogies I give is that if you have a centerpiece at your table, right? The centerpiece, you have 4 chairs, right? In the centerpiece, each one of those chairs have a different view on that centerpiece. So if I'm on the left side of the table, I'm gonna have a different view than the person that's sitting on the right side. If I'm at the head of the table, I got a different view from the person that's on the other side of that table. And what we have to realize is that life is a centerpiece, and we are sitting in chairs. And some of us have sat in the same chair and looked at life from the same seat for 40 years, 50 years, 30 years, 20 years, right? And haven't been willing to get up and say, let me see how the head of the table, how the centerpiece looks from the head of the table. Because sometimes we don't feel worthy enough or we feel this lack, right? And when we sit in a seat long enough and we tell ourselves that this is what that centerpiece looks like, and I haven't seen no other aspects of life, none of these other aspects of the centerpiece, then we start to believe that that's all the centerpiece has to offer. But when we go to a therapist and we go to a coach or we join this like a program like Project L.I.F E, what we're challenged to do is get up from our seat and take a different seat at the table, or at least see it from another person's eyes, so that we can um, transform our minds, so we can see that situation different, let that stuff go, become back one with our creator in connection with people and community. And then we take that and we move forward in life. All right. Because the truth is that this scripture that I told you is rooted in relationship. Relationship with who? Relationship with the creator, right? And when I'm in relationship with the creator, I mean, I'm in a relationship with me, right? Because I am creation, right? So when I have a relationship with the source, the creator of all things, then I have a relationship with me. And that relationship could be a yin and yang. Like I'm accepting my good and my bad, right? I am forgiving myself, right, for the things I don't know. And then I'm like cheering myself on, right? Like I'm becoming my best friend, right? And when I can become that way with me, then I can become, and then I can know that the source looks at me this way. And then guess what? I can give that to other people. That's why those two scriptures in the Bible say, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, which a part of that is loving yourself because there's a God in you. And then the second one say, now love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? So we really need to get into this mindset that I am worthy, right, of loving myself, but moreover, I'm worthy of God's love. Whatever God's love is, right? I'm worthy of that. No matter my errors, no matter my lack, no matter how I'm thinking, even in that, I am still worthy. All right. All right. Um, I'm gonna go to this. And then generosity invites blessings. So a generous heart aligns with God's nature. So really, we want to be generous, and generous is just not about giving money. It could be generous. Like that was my call yesterday. Let's be generous. You know, I have it to give. Let's say hi. You know, let's give that forgiveness. Let's give that grace, right? Even if I can't forgive you, I can give you some grace because we are people and we make mistakes, right? And sometimes we don't want to believe that. You know, there's this saying that say, charge it to my head and not my heart when we do stuff, right? Because I know my intention. See, when I violated you, I know I violated you. So, you know, charge it to my head and not my heart because I really didn't mean to hurt you. I just was trying to express myself. But when it's done to you, then it's like, no, I'm going to charge it to them because they're a bad person and this is the type of stuff they do, right? And it's like, no, they probably was in error too, right? And so let's give grace, let's give some compassion, and then learn how to be more forgiving with ourselves and other people, so that love can start to really pour, you know, out of us. And then love is like, if y'all saw that one video, it's like an expansive energy, right? So it covers a multitude of things the way God does, right? Because God is love, right? And so we want to be in alignment in relationship with this energy of love because it is an attractive quality. When I have it, I can draw to me things, all right? And then abundance beyond material wealth, right? The scripture that God will supply my every need is it's not just about spiritual abundance. I mean, not just about material abundance, but it's about this spiritual abundance. And I want to say like this energy abundance, because energy is everything. It's never lost or stolen. It's only transferred. Just like spirituality, it's like everywhere. Like we are connected. We are part of like one conscious that breaks down right into individual minds, but there is a source, right? It's kind of like consumer's energy. I don't wherever you're from, for us, we have a consumer's energy, and that is the source of the energy, right? That's where all the electricity is stored. But then it breaks down what into streets, right? So it sends its energy out to streets. And then what does to these poles on the streets? And then what does that do? Then from those poles, these cords are attached, and then it sends it into the house, right? To the power box. And then that power box, right, is even broken down, right? Into oh, I just lost it, but into these breakers, right? And then those breakers control the rooms or the spaces, right? And then even in those spaces, guess what? It's broken down to what? The electrical box. So some rooms have 4, some rooms have 6 outlets, right? So you see how we started off with consumers energy and how it breaks all the way down to the plug right now that's sourcing my laptop, right? That's how God is. It's like this big God, and it breaks down into these micro situations, right? All the way down to me plugging into you right now, and you plugging into me right now, and this currency being, and this resource being exchanged. All right, all right. So, when you start to feel anxious about your needs, just remember that God is not limited. All right, all right. When you um, give openly, because the Bible also say don't take from a miser, right? Trust that God will provide for you, right? And then when you're facing uncertainty in this day, right? You need to lean and trust on God's riches and glory, right? Beyond what you can imagine in his perfect timing. All right. So here's some questions that I want you to take with you today. All right. One, what areas in your life do you need to trust God for your provision? So reflect on that for a couple of minutes, right? And how has God shown his faithfulness in the past, right? So if I can say, okay, this is my need for right now, and how has that been met? And when I say God, it could be the gift that God gave you, your ability to navigate, your ability to to communicate, your ability, whatever your skill set is. Maybe you're a good cook, maybe you know, and your job, you're using your skill set, right? That is a provision that God has given you. Although you have what did I want to say? Although you have mastered it, right? Although you have been the person to do it, it's still an innate ability that you've been given, right, from the source. All right, all right. All right. And then I want you to write down 3 things you already have that you once wished for, right? So we can shift and what those things are going to do. Okay. One, the thing I'm hoping for, my belief can start to change because I was hopeful before. And now, because I know that that hope came to pass, I can cipher that faith into this moment with the knowing that this will happen too, right? All right. And then reflect on the God's generosity and how that shows up is through people, right? Like this is me just talking to you for free, you know, people giving you a smile, some people just looking out when they really didn't have to. Like sometimes we're looking at when I say God's generosity, sometimes we're looking at like this. I used to do it. I don't know about you, but like this big voice from heaven that's going to say, like, Sheila, I want you to be this thing. And I was waiting for that, honestly. You know what I mean? Until I got this small, still whisper that's like, do this, go there, say this. And I'm like, okay. And these nudges, right? And then just random people like paying for stuff and, you know, and doing stuff, right? And if God created us in his image, then his generosity is going to come from us. Okay. From his people. All right. So here's our affirmation for today. Repeat after me. I am already abundant. I focus on gratitude and not lack. Let me hear you say it. I am already abundant. I focus on generosity and not lack. Okay. All right. So if today's session really resonated with you, I kind of went about 5 minutes over, just drop a fire emoji in the chat for me, right? And let's start celebrating this growth that we're going to experience, right? And remember, if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. And this is Project L.I.F.E. Listen, but we are taking theory and turning it into practice. I love you. Tomorrow we're going to talk about patterns how to break free from the lack mindset. I hope that this resonated with you. Again, see the abundance in your life today. All right. That's our charge for the week. Just see the abundance. All right. Um, Traditionally, these will come down, but this week I'm gonna leave them up. If you want the replays of these, just join that Project L.I.F.E membership. It's $19.99 a month. And you can get the replays and the memberships, and then you also will get the workbook. So these things are already in the workbook that you can work on in the morning or at night or whenever you want to. Again, I love you guys. I will see you in the morning. Till later.